Hello, Facebook. I hope you guys are having a great week. My name is Katie Harlan, and I'm super excited to present the topic of adrenal fatigue and estrogen dominance with my friend Allie Dameron today. If you are catching the replay, I am an online health and fitness coach. I'm a digital marketer. I'm a mom of three, and I love to bring things that I'm learning about into your world as well. So you guys, recently I went on a business retreat with a group of about 10 women. Most of us are wellness professionals. And in this group setting, I connected with some amazing women who are just really, really smart and good at what they do. And over the course of the last few weeks, I've connected with them outside of the event too and figured out ways to bring their knowledge to you. So I've been doing these interviews, and I did one last week with Cynthia Thurlow about gut health, and that was really, really awesome. So check out my page if you want to look at that again, or if you missed it. And today I've got Allie here, and Allie, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself, and then we'll kind of get into the topic. So tell us about your specialty and a little bit about yourself.
All right. So I am a licensed acupuncturist. I specialize in women's health. And I'm a certified personal trainer that created a boot camp called the Lean and Healthy Boot Camp. And I recently just started a podcast called The Allie Dameron Show, where I talk about health, nutrition, fitness, life, business, all those fun topics. So yeah, I do both women's health and personal training, and try to do connect the two together and provide lots of value for my patients, both in my private practice in Denver, Colorado, and online.
And your podcast just launched yesterday. I shared it with my network, and I listened yesterday, and I'm so proud of you, Allie. It's really, really awesome.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. It's super fun, and I love to just get those topics out there, and I'm going to interview a ton of different women also, kind of what you're doing with just lots of knowledge going on. So
yeah, you know, I screenshotted a few places in the podcast that I could go back and listen to later too, because it was just such good information. And Allie really just breaks it down and keeps it simple and easy to digest. So it was really, really awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. So Allie, today you're going to talk about adrenal fatigue and hormone dominance, or estrogen dominance, which are topics that I know next to nothing about. So I'm just telling my network. But I heard you and some other ladies talking about this at our VIP weekend, and I started becoming interested in it then. So I did a little bit of my own research, but I'm super excited to have you sort of break this down for women, especially because I know that this is a topic that's kind of a buzz term right now.
Yeah, totally.
So do you want to start by just telling us about adrenal fatigue and what that is?
Yeah, so basically adrenal fatigue, you have two adrenal glands that are located right above each of your kidneys, and they're responsible for basically our stress response. They do the whole fight or flight response, where we produce adrenaline, norepinephrine, those types of hormones and neurotransmitters when we're actually stressed. And the basis of this system was created in primal times when we're being chased by bears, or like needing to have definitely adrenaline situations go on. And basically when your adrenaline response goes, you get more oxygen to your muscles, your heart starts to pump faster. And if you've ever been like in a true adrenaline situation where you're like in a car accident or something, you don't feel pain, you just keep going and just get through it. And then afterwards, then you might start to notice some of the remnants of what actually happened. So basically, in today's society, due to all the demands that we're placing on ourselves, parenting, running businesses, even physical stress, like some of us work out too hard and eat too little, we're basically in a state of constant fight or flight. And when we go into that, like back in the primal times, our bodies needed weeks, months to heal from that and rejuvenate themselves, replenish themselves again. And so when we're at this state of like a constant fight or flight response, our body has no time to replenish itself, rejuvenate itself, and is just constantly producing those hormones over and over. And eventually it gets tired. And there is definitely like a debate in Western medicine versus more alternative medicine if adrenal fatigue really does exist. And I'm fine with saying that it doesn't, but you have to agree, I think everyone does, that when you're under constant stress and your cortisol levels are spiking all the time and your adrenaline is spiking all the time, that's going to cause a response. And it's going to make you feel fatigued. Your hormone levels are going to be unbalanced. You're going to start to feel symptoms of chronic stress.
Okay, so the term adrenal fatigue is the term for when your adrenals are under too much activity.
Right, yeah. So they've just been producing too much adrenaline and all of that. And basically what happens physiologically is your cortisol level rises when you're under kind of an acute stress situation. And then if it just keeps rising and rising, eventually it just plummets.
Okay.
So when people get their cortisol levels checked, if it's either high or low, that definitely signifies a stress response.
Okay, so Allie, do you have any numbers or even just estimates of how, the percentage of the population that might suffer from adrenal fatigue?
I think like a super high percentage does. And again, Western medical doctors, if you go to them and say, I think I have adrenal fatigue, they'll say, no, that doesn't exist, most likely, because there's like a couple other things that are similar, like called Addison's disease, where like your adrenal numbers are truly off. But this is more kind of like the whole gluten, like sensitivity versus gluten allergy. Like there is still, that does exist, but so these numbers, you kind of have to put together a whole picture. So you look at your hormone levels, you look at your thyroid, you look at your cortisol levels, you look at all of those numbers together, and then that can kind of paint the picture of adrenal fatigue.
Okay, so this is just one more piece of data that you can collect. So if you have some underlying or some things going on and you can't quite figure it out, this might be one thing to look at.
Yeah, and for women in particular, like fertility clearly has a huge part in it, but women's health in general, your adrenal glands produce hormones. They produce estrogen, they produce progesterone, and some other hormones. And so if you're having those types of issues like estrogen dominance or PCOS, endometriosis, low progesterone with recurrent miscarriages, and there can be a whole lot more stuff along the way of that, definitely check your adrenal glands, because they're kind of like, we all think of our ovaries as the ones that produce hormones, but our adrenal glands are truly like secondary hormonal creation there.
So is that a blood test, Allie?
Yeah, so you can go get your blood drawn. You can do, like I said, your like CBC count, your micronutrients. You can do your metabolic panel. You can do your hormone panel and like a women's panel. A thyroid panel is really helpful. The cortisol test is generally done in a saliva test. So you basically will test your saliva like 5 times a day. That's a good test to do, because cortisol levels change throughout the day. Okay. Yeah, so you can check it that way.
So if people watching are like, oh, I don't know if I have adrenal fatigue, I'm tired, because I think the word fatigue and tired, which I thought too. But what are some symptoms that we might associate with this issue?
Yeah, so a huge one, I think, is feeling just exhausted all day, needing coffee in the morning, which most people do. But then around like 6, 7, 8 p.m., you feel kind of like that tired but wired. So it's like it took you all day to wake up, but after like dinner time, you finally feel awake and then you're like ready to do stuff. That's like a primary symptom of this for sure, because you have cortisol surges around that time.
Oh, that's really unique. That's a very good tip for people to pay attention to.
Yeah, so that's a good one. feeling like you have hypothyroidism or insomnia is another good one. Obviously feeling tired, and then just like symptoms of low progesterone tend to be really correlated with adrenal fatigue, like irritability, PMS symptoms. If you kind of look at your whole cyclic symptoms, a lot of people will have insomnia right before their period starts.
Okay.
That can be like low progesterone. So yeah, you're looking at other hormone levels to see about that. But it's hard to diagnose because there's such like few and far between symptoms kind of that you're just like, oh, I guess I am having that, but you would never really think to like go check it out.
Right. You really kind of have to be in tune with your body to notice those things. And, you know, in the program that I'm running, the If You Carb Cycle program with intermittent fasting, which I know you believe in and use as well, we talk a lot about the study of one and how you know, even the first week of the program, I don't give my clients numbers to hit as far as their macros because I really want people to get into the habit of feeling how their body responds to things. And this goes with that because, you know, we are better than a doctor when it comes to knowing our bodies.
100%. I totally agree with that. And I think like if you know that something is off, you know that. And so you just have to find somebody who will like believe you. And there is like naturopathic doctors, functional medicine doctors, acupuncturists that really do look at your whole picture and will be able to figure out like why your hormone levels are off, why your thyroid's off, why you're feeling so tired all the time, why you're getting sick all the time. Your immune system is correlated to your adrenal glands also.
That's really helpful.
Yeah, and honestly, most moms have some degree of adrenal fatigue just due to the fact that pregnancy, postpartum, labor, delivery, all of that really just takes a lot out of moms and
carrying the whole weight of your family.
Totally, it's exhausting.
It is. Moms have adrenal fatigue. No, I don't want everybody to think we all have it, but that's kind of funny.
I mean, yeah, I always, in my private practice and online patients, after they have babies, I highly suggest going on some sort of adrenal support for sure.
Okay, so that leads me into my next question, which is, so let's say you figure out that you have this, how do you remedy it? Is it supplements?
So dietary and supplements, it depends on kind of the degree. There's about 4 stages of it where like maybe the first stage you were just under like a little bit of stress, like a big job interview or something where you stressed about it for like a week or 2 and then it was over and you kind of replenished yourself, all the way down to like you're chronically ill for like with cancer or something.
Okay.
Trying to come back from that. So yes, dietary, I always suggest like taking a microgreen powder. So like I use Amazing Grass. There's an On It one that just has has like prebiotics, probiotics, microgreens in it, a digestive enzyme blend. You really just want to make it super easy to flood your body with micronutrients and easy to digest.
Okay.
As an acupuncturist, always recommend people eat like either room temperature to hot food because cold raw food can tend to make it's harder for your body to digest that and actually absorb the nutrients. So like postpartum, I always have women eat like stews and soups and really nourishing, hearty stews and soups with that.
Interesting. I never would have thought of those things.
Yeah. That's kind of a Chinese medicine thing, the cold raw food, not to do that. And then
what about, we had a question, ashwagandha root extract? What do you think of that?
That was my next thing. There's a class of herbs called adaptogenic herbs. And basically those help with your stress response and just building back your adrenal glands. And ashwagandha is like the #1 supplement for that. Okay.
I think those of you that are local, 5 Star Nutrition, I think has something like that? David, go ahead and comment if we do. Hi, Casey. Casey is saying hello to us. She was in our VIP group. And my friend Jen is pregnant, and she said, good news. New moms always have to eat things at room temperature.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
So I have a supplement that I use frequently when I'm just kind of like blanket diagnosing adrenal fatigue. It's called Gaia Herbs Adrenal Support. And it just has like rhodiola, ashwagandha, stinging nettles, I think. Just a bunch of really nourishing things. I think there's like 5 things in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay, awesome. So, Allie, before we get onto the estrogen dominance, because this kind of leads into that, if people want like a consult with you or more information about this, can you tell them how to do that?
Yeah, so you can just go to my website, alliedamron.com, and click the contact and just email me from there, or via Facebook Messenger is fine too, and we can schedule a online health consult too.
Okay, and I'll link that in the notes, you guys, in the comments. So we have a couple questions we should go through, I think, Allie, if you have time, real quick before we move on. Yeah. Okay, so 5-Star Nutrition has that, so that's awesome. You guys can get 25% when you mention my name. We got a comment, any recommendations for someone on hormone suppression post-cancer?
That is kind of an individual thing. I would need to look and see like exactly what they're on, what kind of cancer, what their journey's been like so far. But supporting your adrenal glands is super important after radiation or chemotherapy, and definitely at the minimum, make sure that they're taking that green powder.
It sounds like a consult would be really helpful for that kind of individual. Okay. And then can you take supplements like that while nursing?
Yes. So I just got done nursing my 2-year-old actually, and I have nursed 2 babies. I personally have taken the Gaia Adrenal Support while nursing both times. There is a little bit of debate between that, mostly because they just don't know. But like astragalus is super helpful for nursing moms and the baby. So yes, just be careful. Like there's a lot of adrenal blends out there, and not all of them are safe, but like astragalus is safe. And I took ashwagandha too.
Okay, perfect. You are just such a wealth of information. Okay, so now let's talk about something I know even less about, which is estrogen dominance. Okay. What is that?
Okay, so estrogen dominance is kind of a flashy new term also, where basically your progesterone and estrogen are supposed to be kind of balanced together. Estrogen is the first half of your cycle, progesterone is the second half of your cycle, and you want them in a good ratio. If your progesterone is low, your estrogen can be at the correct level, but it's going to look like you have more estrogen. Or your estrogen can actually be high and your progesterone can be at a normal level. So there's a couple of reasons that we notice estrogen dominance. Mostly if your progesterone is at a normal level, it's because you've taken what we call like xenoestrogens. So you can get that from like BPA, the biphenyl A, in can liners and plastic bottles and that stuff. That is mimics estrogen in your body, as do parabens and phthalates and some of our cosmetics. So you want to make sure that you're putting good, clean ingredients on your skin and hair. Pesticides, herbicides, all chemicals, for the most part, can kind of mimic estrogen to some degree. And so we want to stay
fascinating. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and it's not the exact estrogen that we have, so your liver has a hard time processing it out.
Okay.
So that's like the number one thing. I always ask people about like their lifestyle and what kind of products they consume, use, whatever, to see if that's the issue. The other thing that ties directly into the adrenal glands is if your progesterone is low, then it's going to look like you have estrogen dominance. And your progesterone is low for Basically one of two reasons. Either your prolactin level is high, which prolactin is a hormone that breastfeeding moms produce. But sometimes if your adrenal glands are really out of whack, women who aren't breastfeeding can actually produce that. And that hormone fights for progesterone receptor sites. So that's one reason, like when women who are breastfeeding don't get pregnant, that's why, because they have too much prolactin. The other reason is because of adrenal fatigue. And if your adrenal glands are shot, you're just going to create less progesterone because your adrenal glands produce progesterone.
So adrenal fatigue can cause estrogen dominance, but you can also have estrogen dominance if you don't have adrenal fatigue?
Yes, due to like the false estrogens that we either eat or use.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, Allie, do you use like beauty counter products or, you know, the products that are like, you know, clean and safe? Do you use all that stuff on your face and on makeup?
So I've actually never used beauty counter and I really want to. So if someone's a beauty counter rep, I would love to. Hello?
Hey, we're back.
Okay, sorry about that.
I don't know what happened. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, so I've actually never used beauty counter, but I actually really want to. So if anyone's a rep, I would love to speak to you about that. You there? Katie?
I'm back.
I'm here.
It's so weird.
I know. Okay. Yeah, so in terms of like beauty products, I try to buy them at like natural health food stores or something and just look for like paraben, phthalate, BPA free products. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I know a beauty counter rep. Her name's Amber Calla. Amber, if you're watching this, just connect your site down below. I haven't purchased yet because honestly I was overwhelmed and it's kind of stressful. Like, you know, you want to eat clean and do all the things, and then you need everything that touches your skin to be clean, and it can be overwhelming. So I have to work in baby steps.
Yeah, it's totally been a long journey for me to like replace cleaners and my beauty stuff as well. I didn't go out overnight and just spend $1,000 on it, but yeah.
Yeah, that's really good advice. Like those of you watching, we've got to ease into things, you guys. Like recently I spoke about, you know, eating less meat. That is not an overnight thing. You just got to ease into lifestyle changes because then you'll be more successful. Okay.
Yeah, so totally a journey.
Yeah, totally. So back to estrogen dominance. How about some signs then? Like why does it matter if our estrogen is out of whack? And
so estrogen kind of gets a bad rap, but excess estrogen can cause things like breast cancer, autoimmune diseases, ovarian cancer. So you definitely don't want excess estrogen hanging out in your body. And the best thing to do, honestly, is to limit the xenoestrogens that we have. And the second thing is to really support your liver. So your liver is the organ that's going to process out the excess estrogen. So taking something like a milk thistle and a dandelion tea is super helpful to support your liver for that. And you're going to see.
That's so funny, Allie, that you said the dandelion tea, because at our VIP weekend, Lindsay Murray, if you're watching, was talking about drinking dandelion tea to help with her digestion, and she said it tasted like dirt.
It's definitely bitter. Your liver likes bitter tasting stuff, and so it does. It's bitter, but
okay. Hey,
take a little.
So What are some signs that we might have too much estrogen?
So PCOS, like polycystic ovarian syndrome, is a big one. Cysts on your ovaries, feeling like you're bloated a lot, or you're gaining weight in your hips and abdomen region and you're having a hard time losing that. That's another sign. Really heavy, irregular periods is a sign of that, because your estrogen is responsible for building up your uterine lining. And so it's going to create just super irregular, erratic, heavy periods, clotty periods, things like that.
And does the test that we talked about with the adrenal fatigue also test for this?
So for a hormone test, you want to do a day 3 of your cycle. So basically while you're on your period, day 3, estradiol test with progesterone. And then there's a couple other just hormone panels that if you go to a doctor, they'll be able to know like what the day 3 is.
Okay.
Follicle stimulating hormone, AMH. But yeah, you can get a good picture that way.
So there's a very specific test for this one. And this one, like, is this one less, subjective by medical professionals? Like adrenal fatigue, it seems like if there's questions, but this one is like, there's an answer, a yes or no.
You feel like you're having, mostly for, like if you go to your OB or gynecologist, if you say that you're having like irregular heavy periods, don't let them put you on birth control first to regulate it. Check your estrogen. And the other reason for high estrogen dominance is due to the birth controls that have fake estrogen in them.
I could talk for a really long time about birth control and how it could mess you up, man. I'm so glad to be off of that, but I guess we'll talk about that on another.
Yeah, there's a whole thing with that. So get off estrogen birth control.
Get off estrogen birth control. Okay, you heard it from Allie.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay, Allie, anything else you want to mention about either the estrogen dominance or the adrenal fatigue that we haven't covered?
Yeah, they just go hand in hand a lot. And I think, like Katie was talking about, this is all a journey. It's all changing your life, eating clean foods, using clean products. It takes a long time. It's honestly taken me 5+ years to like learn all of this, change all of it, apply it to my life. And so don't be overwhelmed. I know a lot of people, like when I talk about things like this in person to them, they're just like, well, all food's off limits and I have to change everything and this is going to be so hard. And don't think of it that way. All small changes add up to a big change. So that's number 1. And number 2, if you feel like you're tired, having insomnia, your periods are off, you just don't feel quite right, you're getting sick too much, find somebody who will listen to you and will help you view your body holistically as one and figure out where the imbalance is. Because doctors don't unfortunately do that, and it drives me nuts.
I love this. I love this advice. And actually, I was going to go live yesterday, but to talk about something that you said, but I didn't have time. But it was that, don't get caught up in like perfection. Don't let the idea of everything having to be just right before you can improve your health stop you, because those little tiny steps, even if you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back, you're still moving forward. And those little steps are, repeated and repeated and repeated will get you there. So don't get caught up in the details. I think that's a mistake that I see a lot of my clients make. Just think big picture and change what you can a little bit at a time.
Yeah. Yeah, I always just tell people, like, think about what you're doing, what products you're using, what you're eating. Like, is this going to make me go healthier or like the other way? And there is an 80-20, 90-10 principle that we can all utilize, and not everything is going to help us go forward, and that's okay. That's part of enjoying life and part of it. But
I love that. That's why I like you so much, Allie, because you're a realist and you've got all this good information, but you still have that balance between not being perfect.
No, I'm definitely not perfect by any stretch. So,
well, thank you so much for being on. I will connect you guys with Allie. I'll post her website below. So if you want to set up a consult with her, or if you have questions for her, you can do that. That was really super helpful. I feel smarter already today.
Thank you.
Thanks, Allie. Good luck with your podcast, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye-bye.